This is quite interesting. Let's watch this together.
The title of this book is How to Make a Negro Christian. Now, after having read this book, I realized that it doesn't talk really about, it talks a little bit about how to make a black man a Christian. It talks more about why is it important to make a black man a Christian. And very few books have broken my heart like this book. I will not lie to you. Very few books have broken my heart like this. Because this book, firstly, brought to my attention that we did not choose to be Christians. Christianity was imposed on us with the most vile, violent, inhuman methods that you can perceive. This book also clearly identifies the fact that for black people to become Christians, it was more for the advantage of white people than it was for the advantage of black people. It served the best interest of white people for me to be a Christian than it does serve my interest. Another point, it talks about this guy called Dr. Reverend Charles Colcock Jones. Dr. Charles Colcock Jones was a slave master who had plantations, about 6-7 plantations. And in each plantation, there were slaves. There were black slaves. Now, in the north, black people were not even allowed to worship God. Black people were not even allowed to be exposed to the message of Christianity. Because these were savages. These were animals. Now, this Colcock Jones was one of the first people who gathered the people in his plantations, black people, and started sharing the message of Jesus. During that time, there were a lot of slave insurrections, meaning black people who were slaves would wake up in the middle of the night, kill all the white people that were in the plantations, burn their houses, and run away. They knew they would be caught, they would be killed. It didn't matter to them. There are more than 400 slave insurrections that are recorded in America. This is the guy who started saying, let me gather black people and let me teach them about Jesus. Let me teach them about the gospel. And he realized this. The more he taught them the Bible, the more he taught them the Bible, the more tamed, the more docile, the more diluted they became. The more he taught them the gospel, the more humble they became. The more he taught them the gospel, the more a threat, the less a threat they became to white people. And he's one of the few people who never had a slave insurrection in his plantations. Now he took it upon himself to teach white people and said, do not be afraid to teach black people the message of Christianity, because it makes them less militant, it makes them docile, it makes them humble, it makes them controllable.
Watching this video, a lot of things comes to mind. You know, I found a video on X. It's a very interesting video. This pastor, this preacher, talking about the religious instruction of the Negro, a book by Charles Colcock Jones, you know, or Colcock Jones. I hope I'm pronouncing it right. It doesn't really matter, to be fair. He was a slave owner back in the day. I don't like even using the word blacks, but hey, blacks were not allowed to worship God or be Christians or whatnot before this man realized it's not a bad thing. Let them be Christians, you know. Apparently, we used to be warriors and stuff. Then being Christians, you know, made us a little bit tame. I kind of agree with him to some extent. And at the same time, I want obviously people to come and say what they feel, because I don't want to. I want to look in different ways, you know. There's a religious way to look at it. If you're looking at it from a Christian point of view, maybe that was God's plan in order for you to get the gospel. You know, Christians, they can spin it off whichever way they want it. So it might be like one of them, God wanted him to, you know, push the gospel to the so-called blacks. At the same time, it gives you room to wonder, because I remember this is clearly an instructional book, you know, and they had Bibles where they had taken out some books as well. Don't fact check me, but I've read something about that. So I don't know. I don't want to blab too much, but I just want to put it this way. Like, what were we? Like, before this Christianity, before the Islam, what were we doing? How did we worship God? How did we call on our God? And I think it's very important for us to know all that as well. And at the same time, is it like the Christian God or the God of the world, who is maybe the biblical God? Is that the God that is this the ultimate plan? Was this by design? No, that would be wild, because you cannot say slavery was by design in order for us to get the gospel. What do you people think about this video? Please like, comment, or leave out for more.